All right, so today is February 22nd. Can you believe it? We're nearing the end of another month. We are making our way through literary analysis, and I wanted to put up the agenda for you all here today. The first thing that we're going to do is a point of view exercise, and I think you're going to find this a lot of fun. I know that I do. We are, of course, going to be discussing the story that we've all started to discuss already in biology class, which is To Build a Fire by Jack London. And yes, for today's class, I do have my fire going, the largest one that I can muster here on camera. And then if there is time, and I honestly don't think there will be today, but we do need to do a literature block for this because we are moving towards writing a literary analysis. And we've already discussed all of the ingredients that go into a literary analysis, but now we need to put it all together, and that's why we're using those literature blocks on the Google Drive. But the first thing that we're going to do today is to review point of view very briefly. So these are the kinds of point of views that we've been seeing in our stories, and if you would just kind of take a peek at page 91 in your textbooks, this is, of course, the To Build a Fire story. I want you to identify what point of view that is in just a minute here. Okay, so keep that in the back of your head. Also, kind of think back to the other stories that we've read so far and try to determine what the point of view is for those. Okay, so who wants to give us a little bit of a review about first-person point of view, and perhaps you know an example of one from the stories that we've read? Great. We'll start with Cameron, and don't forget to use your cameras. Don't forget to use your Cam.
First person, oh dear. My sister put a sticky note up on the camera. First person, a character within the story recounts his or her own experiences or expressions. This is commonly used in memoirs. We did memoirs earlier. It lets the reader know only what that character knows, so it's limited. And it uses the pronouns I and we.
Great, Cameron, thank you. And you had said that the memoirs that we've read so far in class all had first-person point of view. Could you recall a couple of titles that we had and maybe from whose perspective they were being told?
Sure, we had Mark Twain's Cub Pilot, where he recounts his experience as a pilot of a boat, or piloted training. We also had Gumption. I forget the name for that one. And
No Gumption, right?
Ernesto Galarza's story as well. I actually forget that title as well. But yeah, there were a few of them. There was also one more. It was Mrs. Flowers, and well, I forget the title of this one too. Must have said a little while ago. I forgot them, but I remember the basic idea of the stories.
You sure do. Excellent. Let's get some help from some of your friends here. Robert, you want to help us out with some of those titles?
Sure. So Ernesto Galarza's piece that he actually wrote was thinking back to, it was called Barrio Boy, and that was one that he told as well from first person. Obviously, Cam already highlighted the one which was a Cub Pilot, which was from Mark Twain's perspective, so he wrote that from first person point of view. No Gumption was written by Langston Hughes, and that particular piece was written in more of a piece where he was explaining himself more, Langston Hughes, in the sense that he was explaining his relationship with the world. And then, of course, there was I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, who wrote it from a first-person point of view. So a majority of the memoirs, if not all of them, use first-person point of view to point out all the characteristics of the characters being exemplified and written about, since they were writing about themselves and giving the story of their lives.
Excellent, Robert. Just with one little correction, maybe you guys caught that. I don't know why K-12 did this to you guys, but they had Gumption and No Gumption as two stories fairly close together in the book. So Gumption was the Russell Baker story, which was a memoir, and No Gumption was the Langston Hughes piece, which was a fictional piece. Okay? So yeah, right, Brenna? But excellent, excellent job on that. Go ahead, William, you look confused.
Yeah, because No Gumption is written by Russell Baker. I'm going to go and show. Let me see. All right, here we go. I'm going to get on the camera. Help show this off. All right. So this is No Gumption by Russell Baker. Right. Dun, 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 dun. So No Gumption is by Russell Baker, then Gumption is by Langston Hughes. What a confusion. But another thing that I noticed is that definitely a lot of them use first person, but I couldn't help noticing how I often feel in memoirs, how sometimes, even though it's not directly visible, sometimes people use third-person omniscient that lets you view everybody, or third-person limited that lets you see inside the thought. Like in mine, most of what I wrote was first person, but I also used third-person limited to go inside my mind when I was in the lightning storm and stuff like that. But, so I can't help noticing that sometimes there is a little bit of third-person limited in a first-person point of view memoir.
That's an interesting notion there, William, and authors sometimes will take the liberty to switch it up. And you guys have already written your memoir and your narrative pieces, and some of you were interestingly taking different points of view and using different tenses as well throughout. And that's something that I want to address in a later class.